Everyone who is here, thank you so much for joining us. This is the email generation webinar with myself, Andrew Maffetone of Seller's Choice, and I'm here with this guy, Josh Privy.
Josh Mendelson from Privy. Glad to be here.
Thank you. So we're going to go over automating and growth your list. Let's touch on that. We'll get in there. First, Josh, why don't you start us off? Tell us a little about yourself.
Sure. So I've been with Privy for about a year and a half now, but I've spent the last 10 years or so in email and e-commerce marketing. Spent some time at Constant Contact, a company called Salsify. So been around this space for a while, helping small and medium-sized businesses grow. I'm obsessed with my pug, my 8-year-old, and good beer. So sometimes those things go together. Sometimes they really don't. Try to make it work.
So for those of you who have not done a webinar or attended a webinar before, there is a bit of a delay. So if you have any questions throughout the webinar, feel free to message them in the Facebook comment, and I will get to them as soon as I can. Just give me a couple minutes and we'll get there. Sorry, I was typing something that's to the group chat thing here that we have, so that is why I was delayed there. But Andrew Maffetone, I put Andrew Maff because the last name is way too long. I am the Director of Marketing and Operations here at Seller's Choice. I've been in e-commerce marketing for almost over a decade. Actually, yeah, a little over a decade now. Been here at Seller's Choice for almost pushing 2 years now. Married, love a good glass of whiskey. I personally have a golden retriever. I don't have a pug, but my wife would probably prefer if we had a pug. But my golden retriever is actually here with me, but he's in his cage right now, so I can't take him out. But because he'll end up stealing the show. But I share your sentiments of loving dogs, Josh. All right. So as I mentioned, we're going to have a bit of a delay. Bear with me. I will try to get to everyone's questions as possible. If not, we will also do what we can to get to as many questions as we can towards the end. We'll have a Q&A, and we also have some fun stuff to give away. Myself and Josh here will also be at IRCE tomorrow. I don't know why these slides aren't updating now. Thank you, Webinar Jam. There it goes. So we'll be at IRCE tomorrow. I have a giveaway for there as well. So stick around. That'll be towards the end. Get your questions ready, but you can obviously message them throughout the webinar today. So if you are here, there's a good reason. It's probably because you have some issues with your email list. You're looking to automate growing that email list. You're looking to really grow it as much as you can. And maybe you're struggling in ways to gain new emails. That's definitely something that we've heard a lot of here. So we're going to go over all that. Or of course, you're just flat out awesome and you're cool and you wanted to be here. So I can kick us off here. So I wanted to touch on a lot of the basics. So forgive me if a lot of this is kind of standard stuff, but you'd be surprised at how often we get these questions. So everyone knows the main benefit of building your email list. Obviously, you can send out a newsletter once a month, but there are a lot of other reasons that an email list could really benefit you. Obviously, you have building a community. You have the basic stuff behind that, but what a lot of people don't realize is the simplicity of launching a product. So especially, we deal with Amazon sellers all the time. We have the issue of they launch a new product and they have to fight with the algorithm. They have to do all this other extra stuff. But if you had an email list, launching a new product is significantly easier because you can announce it to your existing clientele. And then, of course, the Facebook audiences. If you've dabbled in Facebook ads before, you know that you can upload your entire newsletter or your entire email list into Facebook and create an audience based on that. You can also create a lookalike audience based on that. And the lookalike audience, essentially, if you don't know what that is, it will take all of that data that those emails are able to give Facebook, and it will basically give you a list of a ton of people over whichever location you want to do so that you can reach new people. Lookalike audiences tend to do very well. So that is very beneficial on the Facebook side. Of course, AdWords has the same options, your standard sales and announcements, and then, of course, setting up any kind of automated flows or anything along that lines that you can do yourself. We will touch on a bunch of these today. Clearly, we're here with Privy, so we will be definitely touching on pop-ups. But how to gain an email, especially if you have something, whether you're on Shopify or WooCommerce or anything along those lines, you know that you can get it through a basic sale. Obviously, you can do a pop-up where you can offer a ton of different things, which we'll touch on as well. Then you have your regular gated content, something you can add at the end of a blog post or on a sidebar or anything along those lines. And then, of course, you have your newsletter sign up, which is typically sitting in your footer somewhere or something like that. So we will go deep into pop-ups because clearly we're here with the pop-up pros. So I'm not going to go too deep into that. But we are going to go over basically all of the offerings that you can have. A lot of times I'll find sellers who want to have a pop-up and it just simply says like join our newsletter for future stuff, which is a little similar to kind of the one down here, which is great. And it works very well for standard newsletter and promotions that you're consistently doing. So that's a good initial pop-up, but you also have something like an exit intent. So that would be offering a discount. So that's where the discounts come in. You can also have similar things like contests where people input, photos, or if they're doing a drawing or anything like that. Samples, free plus shipping works very well, especially for clients. Like I've worked with a few that have food products, and food can often be difficult to sell unless they're able to try it. So you can always do a sample plus shipping. They're trying your product. You can put them into a funnel of emails that way, but then you're also allowing them to sample your product, which is great. Obviously, you have your typical sales announcements that you can have, which works great around seasonality. Same with the announcements. And then, of course, the newsletters that we just touched on as well. So that will be the extent of pop-ups. We're going to get much deeper into that. So I'm just going to touch on a few other things. So you obviously have your gated content as well. This works fantastically if you have blog posts, if you have something towards the end of your blog that can entice someone. So again, with the food one, I just use them as an example, so I'll stay on that. You can have recipes, a cookbook, or you can, if you have some kind of cocktail mixer, you can have drink recipes. Or if it's a more B2B side of your business, you can have ebooks and white papers and things like that you can actually input into here. So this is giving you a bunch of different options of really driving those people to giving you their email. Now, usually what we'll do is we'll have 3 or 4, maybe even 5 different types of gated content that we're going to cater that to whatever the post is about. So if I have a blog post, in this case, this was ours. So we had a blog post about conferences going on and what conferences you should attend and things like that. So we gated on our site, a list of e-commerce conferences that we thought you should attend in 2018. By the way, if anyone wants that, I won't gate it. Just let me know and I'll send you the link. So then you have infographics, things like that. You can do a checklist. We've done like automated email checklists. So like an email that you want to make sure is automated. So you have your abandoned cart, you have your customer win back, you have a new customer, a thank you customer, welcome series, all that kind of stuff. You could do a checklist along those lines. Obviously, if you're selling a product, you could do a checklist of if you're selling barbecue or if you're having a party at home and a backyard barbecue, you could do a checklist on what you really should have for that barbecue. There's a really endless amount of things that people will say, it's just an email, I'll go ahead and sign up for it. So don't really negate the places in your site that you could request an email that's not too much of a stretch. So touching on having your list growing itself really comes down to the content that you have in your emails. So this middle one that we had here, this was a client of ours. This was a while back. This was actually a GIF that we had. So this was basically an abandoned cart email that we had set up. But this particular email was just so funny that we actually got a lot of people forwarding it to sharing it, basically sharing it with other people, which was actually helping build our list and build in new customers. So what we started to focus on was really start to hone in on the quality and the content that we were actually sending out. And we had the share buttons, obviously, that people could just immediately share it, Rich right over here. So whether this was via email or this was via some social network or anything like that. So that was a great way for people to start sharing the emails that we were sending out. That actually helped significantly grow the list without us having to do anything. We just put in share buttons, put out decent content, or we put out sales or anything along those lines, and they worked totally fine. And it was definitely growing the list a lot faster than just sending out a normal email. The other thing we had, being in marketing, if no one knows, there's the Daily Carnage. I get the email every day during the week, and it's from a company called Carney. And so they have basically a splash page of all of the emails that they send out, and it gets updated onto here. So even if you're not taking their email, you can have it here. What they have found is happening is people are actually suggesting people to sign up, and they can go into this website and start to look at how the emails are, if they're really worth it. And they actually see a very large, significant sign up there from people, even though they're just providing the emails already, they're actually still signing up. And it's causing them to really grow their list a lot faster than most others would see. So here, we're going to take a step back. And Josh, I'm going to let you come in on this one here.
Great. So I think Andrew touched on a lot of the basic concepts, but taking a step back to really think about your business, there's 4 things as marketers that we all know when we're thinking about our website and how do we successfully grow our list from our website. First is that not everyone who visits our website are looking for the exact same thing. The second is that each visitor brings their own unique set of interests. We also know that we all should be creating more targeted, relevant experiences on our sites. And we know that sort of these industry standard conversion rates are about 2 to 3%. Those are sort of facts that I think as marketers, we all understand. But that last one really sucks, right? 2% is terrible. So if you think about what does that look like in real life, imagine you're working at a trade show booth or you're working in a retail store and 100 people come in and you only interact with 2 of them, right? You're going to get fired. Like, that's not a good thing. But for whatever reason, we've decided that online that number is okay, when in reality, it's pretty terrible. Go to the next one.
Yep. You got it.
Although maybe that'll be my strategy at IRCE next week. I'll only talk to every 2 of every 100 people that comes up to the booth.
Yeah, that'll do well.
Right. So, when we think about this online world, the most common response that we see from merchants is, we'll just spend more money driving people to our websites and hope to maintain that same 2 to 3% conversion rate, right? We'll pour more money into Google AdWords, we'll pour more into Facebook advertising or Instagram advertising, whatever it takes to drive more people there. So at 2%, we're converting the same number. Or more often, we actually just see people sort of shrugging it off, like, hey, this is how it works. There's nothing we can do about it.
Nope. Come on.
But of course, none of that actually solves the problem. All it does is you can keep sustaining your business that way, but it gets really expensive really fast. So we sort of see marketers that fall into 3 primary buckets: the over-optimized, the frozen, and the one-size-fits-allers. And we'll walk through each of these one at a time. So the first is this frozen group, right? These are people who generally recognize the problem, but actually don't know what to do. In a lot of cases, you'll see people who have invested so much time in their products and their website that they really think those assets should do the selling. So I've built a beautiful Shopify store or some great product listings on Amazon. I'm driving people to my website successfully. They'll buy if they want it, right? So they just sit there and they don't do anything, even though they know that there's probably other things they could be trying. So then this next group is sort of the one-size-fits-allers. This is sort of a little bit further down the chain where they know that they need to do something proactive, but they're really overwhelmed by this concept of personalization, right? They've probably read too many blog posts written by marketers who are saying, like, I need a one-to-one personalization strategy for every ad and every landing page and every, we need to optimize every single thing along the way. For most merchants, even really large ones, that's a lot. So they just slap up one simple thing and figure, hey, it's better than doing nothing. So then this third group is sort of the over-optimized. And these are the ones who really, really drink the Kool-Aid of those blog posts I was just talking about, right? They're looking at marketing strictly as a math equation, right? They're not thinking about humans. They're just thinking about, how do I spend X on Facebook ads to get Y amount of traffic? I get Z amount of dollars, and that's how it works. I'm going to tweak. I'm going to turn. I'm going to think just about the numbers here. But they're oftentimes leaving out the human factor, right? If you think about marketing as sort of part art, part science, it's really about understanding when and what to say to the people who are hitting your site. And if you forget that there are actually people, that human beings are making purchases or not making purchases on your site, you kind of move beyond this over-optimized stage, and you can start to think about different strategies that I'll talk about now. So what's holding us back, right? A couple different things. First of all, we've been taught that it's too hard and too expensive. We believe that 2% is okay and 3% is great from a conversion standpoint. So we're not really inspired to go chasing the big numbers. And frankly, most of us think that we don't have the tools or time or expertise that it takes or budget that it takes to really be successful in increasing our conversion rate. But I'm going to tell you that optimization is overrated, right? That fine-tuning of every little aspect of button color and landing page copy and all of that, sure, it should be good, but optimization itself kind of overrated unless you're a massive corporation where every fraction of a point results in millions of dollars. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some low-effort, high-impact campaigns you can use using pop-ups and other displays, as well as email, that can really make you a marketing superhero without driving you insane. So the first step is really identifying your top 3 to 4 sources. Right? So this is actually what you're seeing here is what drives the most traffic to Privy's website, and we've got a footer on some of our campaigns and in our emails that drive a lot of traffic. We get a lot of direct traffic. And then our organic CPC traffic. So these are our top 3 to 4 sources. And then what you do is you take whatever those are for you and you start to implement simple strategies for the beginning of this path to purchase, right? So you can use targeted displays that are driving new visitors towards a sign up or a subscription. Ideally you're getting people right to purchase, but I think as we all know, sometimes that takes some time. So what you can do, and if you look at sort of the targeting criteria on the right-hand side there, is you can use UTMs and referral pages to target a specific message to a specific person. So keep going. I'll talk a little bit more about how that works. So basically what you want to do is you want to deliver this highly relevant experience. So whatever ad or post that someone is seeing in the market, so in this case, you're seeing this sort of Instagram ad on the left, driving to a website that has the consistent image and message there. So that 10% off that they're seeing as an ad, they're experiencing that via a pop-up right when they get to the site. It's telling them that they're in the right place and they're going to get what they came for. And you can take this further even if you're not using ads or UTM codes. For example, for those of you who don't have kids or have somehow spared yourself from this, Hobby Kids is, how would I describe it? It's a YouTube channel for kids that makes parents want to hurt themselves. But basically, it's kids opening presents, and for whatever reason, children love to watch this stuff. But as a parent, you could be reaching parents by saying anyone who's coming to the Hobby Kids website from YouTube is going to see this pop-up that's saying, "Welcome, Hobby Kids fans," and it's a very targeted message. This works really well on Instagram if you do, say, an Instagram ad or an Instagram post, and then a mobile optimized pop-up that's like, "Hey, welcome Instagrammers, here's a special offer just for you," for example. And then you want to really create offers that are meaningful to your target audience. So, the one on the left is what we call a spin to win campaign. And that's actually from the Ellen DeGeneres Show merchandise store. And, if you've seen Ellen, she likes to do a lot of games on her site. So this really fits in well where someone comes in, they enter their email address for a chance to win any number of discounts, right? Really fits within their brand. It's fun. You get huge conversion rates on this type of thing. We're talking like upwards of 20, 25%. The middle one is it's for this company that's giving away content about how to be a more successful gardener. So Andrew sort of talked about this earlier. It's a much more appropriate offer where they're giving away an ebook about better gardening and sort of just start that relationship. And then the one on the right is actually an opportunity if in exchange for your email address to enter a sweepstakes. So you have to think about what your brand is all about and what makes sense for your audience, and create an offer that works really, really well there to get that initial impression and that initial sign up. And then you want to make sure that you're sending autoresponder emails to deliver on that offer and introduce people to your brand, right? The beauty of an autoresponder, whether you send it directly out of something like Privy or whether you're sending it out of your primary ESP, your email service provider, the autoresponder does a couple different things. One, it gives a permanent record of the link or the discount code or whatever it is that someone has signed up to get. The second is a really good opportunity to introduce your brand in a more robust way than you would get in, say, a pop-up or a landing page. And then if people want to get more emails, they can certainly opt in to do that here, or make it easy for them to opt out of future emails, depending what your offer is and the language you use. But those autoresponders are sort of instant gratification that confirm that initial interest in your brand.
So real quick, I'll come in on this one real quick. A question someone asked, what is a UTM? We spoke about it a few slides ago. So UTM is essentially I forgot what it stands for, something, the URL tracking measurement or something?
It's something like that, yeah.
So it's basically a custom URL so that you can track it primarily in your Google Analytics, so you can see where the traffic is coming from.
Yeah, and the UTM codes sort of get appended to the URL on your web page. That way, it's sort of added on as this tracking code, but the URL structure remains the same. So you can do something, with, say, Privy. If you're driving someone to a page and that tracking code is there, you can say the URL equals this exact thing, and that way you'll know that people who came from that email or from that ad are the only ones who are going to actually see that pop up. Great. So Andrew mentioned this a little bit in the intro. Step 3 is really thinking about, how do I take these new email addresses and implement simple strategies for the middle of the funnel? So retargeting works really, really well. It's probably the most cost-effective advertising that you can get. And what you really want to do is you want to reinforce that same message. So if you're running an ad that drives people to the site, they sign up for a special offer, but maybe they don't redeem it, and you create a list of those people, you could actually remarket to them with that same offer, or possibly different products that they might be interested in if they didn't make a purchase. So you want to build those email lists, and then whether it's in Facebook creating those lookalike audiences or uploading them and doing the same in Google, there's a ton of different options you have to reinforce that brand message and, again, drive people back to the site.
So your opinion here, I know that you had mentioned doing an ad with whatever picture, and then if they click on that, you have the pop-up that is the exact same picture so that they know they're in the right place. Do you usually find it to still be beneficial to have that same concept, almost that same picture as the remarketing ad? Or would you rather go the more dynamic route, which is what you have here over on the right, of actually showing which products they ended up landing on? At what point do you really start to decipher what should be shown? Is it really, if they abandon right away, maybe you continue to show them the same concept?
I think usually you want to do something that's sort of a related set of products. So if someone, is coming in on, for example, an ad for a dress, you might want to show a wider selection of dresses. I think most people, if they see something, they come to the site and they don't make a purchase, you're probably going to want to show them things that are related but different to drive them back because they didn't actually convert the first time on that first thing. So I think you want to stay within a category, but you do want to mix it up a little bit when you're trying to drive them back for more.
Automated emails.
Yeah, so automated emails are great. Whether it's abandoned cart emails, we'll talk about that more in a minute. But once you've got someone who's signed up, you don't want to just use that autoresponder we talked about before. You actually can send things like coupon reminders so that if the coupon is expiring or it's just been a few days and they haven't used it, you want to sort of, while the iron is hot, so to speak, use some automation to drive people back to complete a purchase. There's no question that you may lose some people who are opting out, but I think it's worth it. Almost every coupon reminder series I've ever seen has a positive ROI and is driving people back. And usually people are actually appreciative of it because they can come back to your site on their own time. That's the beauty of email, is it's very much in control of the user to say, I've got this thing, I've got 10 minutes, I'm on the subway right now, I'm going to go see if I actually want to make that purchase.
Yeah. And this ties back to what we originally spoke about too, about having the additional share buttons and things like that. A lot of times, like to give you an example, I know a ton of websites where my wife is in a situation and she's like, I'm in a meeting right now, but my coupon's expiring in the next hour, and she just hits a share button, and now I'm immediately stuck buying this stuff. But because I have to track the package because I got to make sure it gets home, now all of a sudden I'm in their email list. So that is, I may not like it, but a lot of your consumers may actually enjoy being able to share these emails, and having these automated emails set up with share options really helps spread the word about coupons expiring and things like that. And when you have that really exclusivity and the scarcity of a coupon, it definitely can really start to drive traffic back to your email list. Totally
agree. And then the last thing I think about for the middle of the funnel is, using things like number of sessions, so number of times a person has been to your site, or number of purchases they've made to target those different pop-ups. You don't always need to capture an email address. So in this case, we're just showing a welcome back campaign, where actually the thing we want them to do is write a review. So you can have a link out to a review site or however that works for your business. But really acknowledging that this is a customer of yours and treating them a little bit differently than you would someone who's completely new to your site.
Yeah.
So then the last part is really about the bottom of the funnel. It's really about cart abandonment. And if you go to the next one, the thing that's so interesting about most cart abandonment emails, which is the primary way that people are handling cart abandonment today, is that it's often too little too late. And that's because in most cases, so for Shopify, for example, the only people who are getting they're actually checkout abandonment emails. They're not actually cart abandonment emails. And the difference there is that they have to make it through the part of checkout where they're entering their email address before you can actually send them an email. So there's some things you can do ahead of that by incorporating pop-ups and some other methods into your cart abandonment approach. So one of them is sort of looking for these pre-abandonment signals, right? So the example you're seeing here, the targeting rules are set up so that we're looking at two things. We're looking at exit intent, which is the notion of when someone appears to be leaving a site by either moving towards the back button or closing a tab. It works a little bit differently on mobile. And we're combining that with the amount of money that is currently in their cart, the amount of product. So here we're saying, if you take the one on the left, for example, if they have less than $50 and they're going to leave the site, they're going to get a specific offer. I'll show that on the next page here. Right, so here we're going to say, okay, if you have less than $50 in your cart, we're going to give you a 10% off code right now before you leave, and really capture that email address, try to close the purchase today, but certainly give them a reason to come back later. If they've got more than $50 in their cart, we're actually going to push them a different offer. We're going to say, okay, you get free shipping on orders over $75, right? It's a 30-day discount, so that will expire. But what we're really saying here is you're a higher value customer to me, so I'm going to give you something of more value. And you can use that depending what the right thresholds are for your business. You can use that notion of cart value in emails as well down the road, and sort of automated emails, you can do that as well. But certainly with these carts, what we call cart saver pop-ups, that allow you to reach people who have something in their cart before they go away and before they've even reached the checkout stage of the process where an abandoned cart email might kick in. And what we see is that this actually recovers like an additional 10% of carts pre-abandonment, right? So this is before people have actually left the site. If you think about it almost as like, anyone who is on your site is sort of this pool of people, right? And the checkout abandonment email is like this tiny slice. What cart saver pop-ups can do is really expand the pool of people who you can give an abandonment offer to before they go away. Doesn't mean you shouldn't also send cart abandonment emails or checkout abandonment emails, but this is almost like, how do we grow that list? So we've seen lots of folks do it. Here's a good example. These guys are called Project Repat. They use a couple of different approaches. They use these cart savers and have seen a 10% reduction in abandoned carts. We'll go to the next one. So this next example is this company called Kleen Kanteen. They make really like kick-ass water bottles and other items. They use Privy to its fullest extent. They have 40 very targeted displays. So they're featuring new products. They're based on what page you're on. They're recommending different products on their blog. They're recommending different things, some of which have a form in them, many of which don't. And they've actually seen a 43% lift in opt-in rate by being very targeted from a content. So right? Just making it very easy to grow your list. This is a company called 4Ocean. They set this pop-up up in maybe 10 minutes. It reaches everyone who hits their site. Cool product. Basically, they are an organization that is trying to clean up the ocean floor. And in doing that, they're selling bracelets made of things that they found on the ocean floor, sort of recycled into these nice bracelets. But they're not even giving away a discount or anything like that. All they're doing is join the movement, sign up for our newsletter, and in weeks, they were able to get to 100,000 subscribers. Just by this very simple technique of reaching people right when they get to the site, give them, I think it's like a 10-second delay to sort of see what's going on there, and then ask them to join the movement. Really easy, something anyone can do. So, I think a lot of times we all sort of get wrapped around the axle of, marketing is really hard and I need to know a lot of really complex concepts. But forget about that. You don't actually need a landing page for every ad that you're running or every offer you might have in market. You don't need a personal experience where I might get one thing and Andrew gets another and Ted gets another. And, you can bucket people into, your most important groups. You don't have to have perfectly optimized copy and design. Is the blue button going to perform better than the green button? Maybe. But is that the best use of your time? And you also don't have to settle for 2% conversion rates. You really want to be shooting for things like, 10% conversion, 20% conversion, really become that marketing hero that your organization needs.
Like you said. Okay, so that puts us towards the end here. So we're sitting here, we're doing this, of course, this always happens every time we end up going through the webinar and I realize like, oh man, we totally missed out on a whole section. So we talked a lot about on-site email generation. Obviously, what we really tried to drive home here is don't get scared by over personalizing and having it say like, hello, Josh, welcome to our site. Like that's going to, in some cases, that's going to scare people away. I know a lot of people that freaks them out and they don't want to be on your site anymore. So bucket them makes a lot more sense. It's vague, but it's still there. You don't have to over optimize. A lot of stuff we drove home. What I realized I didn't touch on which I should have touched on a little bit more earlier, was gaining emails from off your site. So that was a little something that I definitely should have put in the beginning. So I apologize if anyone missed that. So we talked about taking your email list, especially after you've taken this approach. Take that email list and you put it into Facebook, and then you can create this lookalike audience. Well, Facebook's going to take all that information. They're going to obviously put a bigger pool of people who fit that same bill together, and you're going to be able to run ads to them. What we do is you can actually do an abandon, or I guess not an abandon, but a browser abandonment, or you can do a just a retargeting of if they have visited a certain blog post. However, if you use that list and instead of sending them back to the site, actually do a lead form of that gated content. So if they didn't convert and get the gated content, they didn't submit an email, so they didn't land on your thank you page, now you can run that ad to them and start to push that gated content to them again. You now know that they're interested in that same content. Maybe they just missed the gated content. Maybe they just missed the opportunity. So now you can rerun that ad to them and really start to drive home, giving them something that you already know they're probably interested in because they were reading that original blog post. We've had lead forms on Facebook grow email lists significant overnight. Once you get those emails, you can now run another email to them that looks like that pop-up, and then they see it and they come to your site, and now they see the pop-up, and you're putting through that whole funnel, and they end up getting back stuck in that cycle again until they convert. So it's all about drawing out the funnel of the process. I've really started to play with, there's a new software out there called Funnelytics. I don't know if anyone's heard of it yet. There was a free version. I think it's still free, but you can literally just like drag and drop little stuff, and you can draw out the customer like journey basically. And if they do this, then this is what they get. And if they do that, then this is what happens. And you can really draw out to make sure at the very end, the only thing that they have possible is to get that email. Sorry, but I definitely should have touched on that at the end. I would love to start hearing from anyone. Let us know, what your thoughts are. If we missed anything, if you have any questions, now would be the time to start preparing them. Obviously, we can touch on some Q&A now. I saw a couple questions come in. I'll let you guys start submitting those through the chat. Josh and I will touch on them. While you're submitting those, I have a couple things I wanted to give away. Next week, Josh and I will be at IRCE in Chicago. If you're unaware of what IRCE is, it's a big online retailer conference. It's very large. There's a ton of people out there. The night before, we will be co-hosting a big VIP reception with a company called Rise 25. It's after their big mastermind that they have on Tuesday. We have a handful of free tickets that we can give out. So if anyone wants to come, it is $1 million sellers and up. It's usually invite only, but because we're co-hosting, I get some to give away. I only have a handful left. If not, I do have some discounted tickets I can do as well. So feel free to reach out. You can hit me up on social media. I got all my stuff right there. So feel free to message me. If not, my email is andrew@sellerschoice.agency. And I also have an ebook that we did on what we suggest on automated emails for setting up. So those browser abandonment, those abandoned carts, those customer winbacks, everything that we talked about earlier, we had a whole ebook on it. It's not gated. You don't have to give me your email if you don't want to, even though that's the whole point of this webinar, but you can just go straight to it if you want. It's just bit.ly, so bit.ly/auto-emails-sc. It's all yours. Have at it. Privy, Josh, I know you have a bunch of stuff here as well.
Yep.
Let's see.
And we've got some free guides on our site too that you can check out. One that really gets into a lot of what we were talking about today is it's called the Advanced Guide to Audience Targeting. I can include the link in whatever follow-up we do, but really walks through how to execute some of the stuff that we've been talking about. So that's good stuff as well.
So I got a question. Good buddy of mine, Joe Freeman. I've been working with him for a while. So we got several questions. So Josh, bear with me here. So do you guys use any effective tools to capture emails at trade shows or events? We can make an offer that is interesting enough to get them to sign up. But are there tools or apps that are better that we can use on an iPad at a physical show? Once we get an email, we can include them in our funnel. Any thoughts or ideas? Josh, you want to start on that one? I have my own input is there as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are a lot of different ways to do it. I mean, oftentimes what I'll do if I know I'm going to have internet access somewhere, which is always a little bit of an if, is I'll actually build, I'll build like a simple landing page. Privy does simple landing pages. Even before I worked here, I would do something like that and just have it open and ready. Just capture people. It automates the whole thing instead of having to like write it down and put it into a spreadsheet and all of that. I think if you can get people to enter their own email address into some sort of digital form, it's going to be a win. They're going to type it more correctly and they're going to get that autoresponder sort of right away. So that's what I would recommend doing is whatever platform you use, create some sort of simple landing page that you can either open on your phone or open on a tablet and let people drop their email address right in there.
Yeah, honestly, we were the exact same thing. We were at Prosper Show, which was a big Amazon conference back earlier this year. We did the same thing. We just created a landing page, and what we did is we had it on an iPad. It was right in front of our booth, and we did it as a giveaway. At the time, we were giving away a free Shopify site. We were just building someone, so it was a big giveaway for us. And what we had done is we just built a very simple landing page, asked 1 or 2 questions, and then they just submitted it. And the second they submitted it, they got an email that immediately said, thank you for submitting, all that stuff. But then it also just stuck them through a funnel. Which especially at conferences and trade shows is a lot easier because you're going to lose track of most people. And what else can you say? Then we had another one. So there's a company called Data Automation. I don't work with them, so I get nothing out of this. But we had that Prosper Show, and they did this thing that was the coolest thing I've ever seen. So if you're doing a trade show or if you're doing a conference, you have the ability to scan people. They somehow hacked the app that was allowing you to do that. And the second they scanned you, that stuck you through in a funnel. They had all that information go directly into, I assume, a spreadsheet. And then when that spreadsheet got populated, it stuck them through a funnel. So they showed me how to do it, and they did it. And then I immediately started getting emails. It was very impressive. So if you can find someone to hack it, or if you can get Data Automation to do it, then there you go. So that's definitely one way to do it. But giveaways, contests, stuff like that, that's always the best way to go in terms of trade show email generation. My only suggestion there would be never let them write it down, because you'll never be able to read everyone's handwriting.
Yeah, I've learned that one the hard way too many times.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see if we got any other questions here. For the most part, I think we answered a lot of these other ones already. Yeah. I think that about does it. Big thank you to everyone who attended. Thank you, Josh, over at Privy.
Anytime.
Much appreciated for joining us. As I mentioned earlier, we're Seller's Choice. You can reach out on our social media. Most of our URLs are at the Seller's Choice. If not, you can search it. But you can also reach me at Andrew Maff. You can just email me, andrew@sellerschoice.agency. I will have the replay of this on our YouTube probably in the next couple of days. I will have the slides emailed out to everyone so you can reference them later on if you need anything. But thank you all for joining us. And Josh, do you want to let everyone know where they can find you?
Yeah, so you can always reach me at just josh@privy.com. Twitter, we're Privy. Facebook, we're Get Privy. LinkedIn, we're something weirder, but you can find us. And YouTube, we're /Privy Marketing. So hit us up if you're at the IRC show next week. Come on by for stickers. Just say hi, whatever you want to do. We're at booth 486. I'm sure we'll see Andrew there. And thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Good luck, everyone. See you out there.